This feels so good. Yo, Demir, what are you doing? Gotta wake up, dude. What you mean, bro? We're at the beach, huh? Nah, yo, we gotta get to the airport. I'm trying to relax. Wishing that I was at the beach. Okay. Feet up, chilling at peace. Oh, yeah. Got a coconut, I drink. Splash in the water, no sing. Way soon, that'll be me. Better take off in a week. Okay. Celebrating Kate and Chris. Oh, yeah. Wedding better be so.
What's up, fam? Welcome back to the Time is Ripe podcast. My name is Scott Smith, and you are here on the Time is Ripe. We are a podcast of Ripe Creatives, which is a ministry based in the great city of Philadelphia. We leverage the arts for the purpose of missions and community transformation initiatives. Basically, we do stuff through the arts to make an impact on other people's lives. And this podcast is where we go back in time to discuss events that happened in the Ripe community. A lot of times we're talking about events that happened in the city of Philadelphia that we produced or hosted. And sometimes we're talking about events where we went on the road because we got booked to go somewhere to do something. Today's episode is the latter because we're going to be going back in time to September 29th through October 1st, 2023. It was a weekend gig, and we went out to the faraway lands of Wildwood, New Jersey to do a weekend youth retreat called Ignite. Ignite has about, 500-600 students from a bunch of UMC churches throughout the greater Northeast United States, and they all gather together at Wildwood, New Jersey's convention center, and they throw this big youth conference. They've been doing it for years. They have had artists like Britt Nicole and Holvey and Propaganda and a whole bunch of other, crazy talented, famous artists over the years. But this year they booked Ripe. Look at us. Praise God. Pretty cool opportunity. They asked me to be the MC. They asked DJ Angie to DJ the weekend. And they booked Aable, Demir, and Eves as artists. And then those three lovely humans talked to a guy by the name of Jason to come out and play drums. So there was about 5-6 of us that went out for different parts of the weekend. And to talk about this whole thing, a few of those people who were on this trip are in the room. First things first, we got a returner. Mr. Diomer Rodriguez is in the building.
Yo, what's up?
Better known as by his artist name as Demir. Demir has been on a bunch of episodes, and we are excited to have him back as we go to Jersey with this one. We also got another returner in the room. We got Miss Eves back in the building.
Hello.
Welcome back to the pod, Eves. One of my favorite episodes, also one of Jared's favorite episodes from season 1, was our Creatives Cafe with Eves, talking to her about that night. Still one of my favorite all-time episodes. If you haven't heard it, listen to it. Eves, so excited to have your voice back on today's pod. And finally, we got a first-timer, ladies and gentlemen. First time on the pod. Maybe not his last. I hope not. Jason Weatherbe.
Yo, what's up?
Welcome to the pod, man.
I'm excited.
Yo, as a first-time guest, we ask all of them to do this, so you are not exempt. Introduce yourself to the audience, because a lot of these people probably haven't met you before, and then share how you got connected to Ripe.
Like Scott said, my name is Jason. Basically, I'm just a drummer. Grew up in Philadelphia, PA, West Philly. For a lot of my West Philadelphians, what's up? But yeah, I grew up in West Philly, born and raised in church. Been connected to Ripe through like friends and my brother, older brother Mike. Basically, he was he got married to someone that also was a part of Ripe. So like the connection was just, it was like through family and friends, basically. And, I kind of inserted myself by like hanging out with them a lot and like starting to meet more and new faces and friends through that. And it's definitely been a blessing, man. I love it. So yeah, that's basically.
That's what's up. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the Time is Ripe, Jason Weatherbe.
Thank you.
Excited to have you on. Now, as I said, this was a weekend gig, and Ant and I were booked for the full weekend. The concert at Ignite is actually usually just a one-night thing. It's just Friday night, where they, book a bunch of artists to come in on Friday night. I just name-dropped a few of those people that had been on it before, but this year it was us. It was Ripe. And so for Friday night, the goal is to kind of get in and just do the show, as well as you possibly can, get in, sound check, all that kind of stuff. Our story for this episode extends beyond just Friday night, but let's start there. For you guys, Eves, Demir, Jason, when you found out you were getting this opportunity to get booked to go do this big conference that, some heavy hitter artists have been on before, and they're trying to book you guys, like, what was kind of your first reaction, first response to getting the opportunity?
Yeah, I would say it was definitely exciting being an artist and using music as a tool for ministry. You get opportunities to go a lot of different places, very big and very small, and everything in between. So just excited to see how God would work in a space like that, in a scale where, there's so many students there and staff, and just sometimes on those bigger platforms, I've had times in the past where I almost wondered, like, how could I be, used? Like, is there anything beyond just my time on the stage? And so excited for seeing what it would become, but I'm not going to give a spoiler alert, but seeing how God worked off the stage, and we'll share more about that later. It was actually really cool throughout the weekend.
I would say I was very excited. I also didn't know what to expect. It's hard to put a good perspective on what it is to be in that big of a space and with that many kids. I just remember walking into the room that weekend and I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a lot of people. And I think it's a really humbling opportunity because there's a lot of talent in the music industry, but then there's also just a lot of talent that on our team and in Philly in general. And I think it's humbling when you get the opportunity to share on such a big platform. So I was excited, but I didn't know how excited I should be until I got there. And I was like, wow, this is huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Once you see the stage, you're like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
This is it. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely for me, I was super excited. Cause this was definitely the first time I was able to be put in an area like that. So honestly, I definitely didn't know what I was expecting. But being a part of it and getting an invite and seeing what everything was set and up for, it was yo, I don't. This looked like this is actually the real deal. So it was more so the prepping stuff was yo, I'm really more so enjoying this because this has kind of been a dream for me growing up. Being able to just show my gift to people, whether they were young or older, whatever the case may be. But just being able to go around, spread my talents, and then basically hope to inspire others as yo, I want to also do something like that, but they don't know how to exactly. So yeah, it was definitely great. So yeah,
it's a vibe. It didn't look kind of like the real deal. It was the real deal.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah,
totally.
That's what I meant.
It's definitely a full-on kind of, one of the biggest events in our region annually, especially for this age group. So the interesting thing is Wildwood Convention Center, we've actually spent a lot of time at as a team over the last handful of years. But typically we were in the smaller room for Heatwave, which is a thing that Youth for Christ does, in kind of the smaller room. This is in the big room that I think at its peak might be 3,000 or so plus seating. Mm-hmm. Now, Ignite is kind of not that yet, but I think it was maybe before the pandemic and is trying to build back to being one of these massive kind of opportunities. But it is a big deal, and they take it very, very seriously. They do not hold back when it comes to production. When you walk into the space, it is not just the magnitude of the auditorium. It is the lights, the screens, the stage. I mean, the stage is probably a 10-foot stage. Yeah, you know what I mean? In a room. It's just overkill to the max. The subwoofers are shaking the walls. It's a really, really big production. They actually hire a company out of, I think, Georgia that ships all of their stuff on a boat up the Atlantic Ocean to get there. You know what I mean? So it's a really big undertaking. It's a big deal for a lot of people. And it was kind of crazy we got the invite. I just want to shout out Kasi. Kasi Grove is the reason why we got the invite. We have done things for his church that he used to be at, Hopewell UMC. We got booked to do a weekend or a week-long missions trip with him that didn't end up happening. But because of his, advocacy for us, he put us kind of in the frame of reference to the decision makers. And that was Corbin and McCann Payne, who happen to be old friends of mine. And they decided to book us. So it's always about relationship. Yeah. Right? It's not just about, man, they found me on Spotify or they saw me on Instagram, or my YouTube video, my music video hit MTV's, Hot or Not. Like, no, a lot of times it's relationship.
I feel like you just dated yourself a little bit.
My bad. I don't even know if Hot or Not is a thing. I just made that.
I was talking about MTV.
Yeah,
that's not even a thing.
Listen, you know what I mean? I'm the old head. I'm just saying it's not like they discovered us.
Totally.
As much as friendship, relationship, and then you guys happen to be incredibly talented. And so when they were like, oh man, these guys are really good, this is an easy decision for us. Because a lot of times we're flying people in from around the country. And I think that's fine, but I've always advocated for local because you're giving the students an opportunity to see an artist that they might get to see again.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Not just at the big thing, but could be back, within their hometown to do a follow-up kind of concert or something like that. So, yeah. Just walking into the space, you guys have already alluded to it, like, what were some of your thoughts whenever you saw the actual space that we were in?
Well, for one, it was massive. I don't even know if they were using the whole building. That's how big it is, but they definitely used a big portion of it. But kind of just put things in perspective for me at least, because definitely growing up and especially like becoming a believer and diving into being an artist, representing Jesus. I've had moments where I want to dream of opportunities like that, but when you start to like arrive at some of them, you realize like, I have a duty unto the Lord and, I want to steward this time well. And so that kind of like grounds me. And even just like having my friends from Ripe, like all of us who were there, like it always keeps things in perspective because we do all the other events in the tri-state area and beyond, whether it's 5 people, 10 people, 50 people showing up. And we've done so many of those over the past couple of years that, we don't lose sight of what really matters when we get onto a bigger stage. It's more like, all right, let's make sure that we're on time and just making sure that whatever production or run of show that we have to report to, that we're respecting the crew that's running it. But as far as like ministry stuff, like we're never any different in my opinion, which is a good thing in this case because we're the same people off the stage that you see on the stage, and that's what I think makes Ripe special. Well, one of the many reasons why I think Ripe is special.
For me, seeing the setup definitely was like jaw dropping. Reason why I say that is because like I've been to like shows and things like that, but only when it was like, from basically what you said, when it was bigger artists. But actually being the one to like be put on this stage, it was like, yo, it feels different. Now, not saying that I or anyone else in Ripe that was there like was treating it more like, oh, we're here in a bigger stage, meaning like we have to be different. Like we all came with the same mindset of like, yo, we still have to serve God at the end of the day. So like we're not getting the glory out of this. But just seeing like what God has done for each of us has like it's been wild, because we like, again, like going back to what Demare said, we had shows and things like that where it would rather be 5 or 10 or like 15. And like in the matter of just like last year alone, like putting us on that type of stage is like, yo, this is wild, so yeah, definitely like just looking at that is like, yo, this is really, it's a jaw-dropping moment. So yeah, that's it for me.
One of the things that happened early on Friday night after we all arrived, we get to our hotels, drop off our stuff, meet back up over at the building. Couple of things we did was Corbin pulled us off to a side room where we shot all these intro videos. and bumper videos, which is just hysterical. Me and DJ
Scott was loving
Angie,
it.
What?
Scott was having a time.
Oh, was I having a time?
He's dancing. Lights are cool, huh?
It was like a green room, like a photo shoot room, video shoot room. So we all got to kind of do these like random videos as like the bumper videos for whenever you guys come out. Now, after that, we went back and we did sound check. And I will say this, one thing that we like quote unquote failed at was coming up with our on and off stage plans. Because as Ripe, we do something I think that's very unique, where you guys don't function as separate artists in a set, especially for youth. So it's like, if you go to a normal show, it's like Demir artist opens and then Eves does a set and then Aable would do a set. But because we know what it looks like to engage teenagers really well, and their attention span is terrible.
Bless their attention span.
Yeah, bless their
So
attention
small.
span, please. So what we've kind of come up with is a way of like doing kind of a up and down roller coaster through a set where, you know, maybe Eves only does 2 songs and then Demir does 1 and then Aable does 1 and then they do 1 all together and then 2 more here, 2 more there. Instead of these like 30 minutes of this person, 30 minutes of this person, 30 minutes of this person. And it captivates an audience in a way that if the student doesn't like one of you and just decides I'm out, they don't miss the other 2, right? Because the context is completely changing every 5 minutes. And we've come to find that this is a really good way to do shows with teenagers. Actually, I think it's one of the reasons why we get booked for a lot of shows with teenagers, is because we figured out how to engage them well. But we didn't come in super prepared for that. And a big part of that was Eves got married 5 days before.
Let's get it.
Which was
Come on now.
the most ridiculous,
Just a small
Praise God.
distraction.
the most ridiculous story of all time. Because we were on the phone trying to figure it out with Demir and Aaron, but you weren't there because you were on your literal
I was like,
honeymoon.
I'm so sorry, I'm not going to be on this call. I'm not calling you.
So we're trying to figure it out ourselves. Like, maybe Eves will want to do this. I don't know.
I mean, that's her first ministry at that point. Praise
Absolutely.
God.
Yeah, this doesn't matter at all compared to that. But crazy timing, because you had said yes to this booking way before you even knew when your wedding was going to be.
Right.
Like you didn't, say, oh yeah, I can do a gig the week after my wedding.
Yeah.
You had already said yes to this booking, and then you got married really fast.
Amen.
And so you came off of your wedding straight into this event. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
Won't he do it?
thank you for even
Yeah.
coming, first of all.
Yeah. I was down for it. That's
You ride or die.
ride or die.
Eves did the Worship Fest event 2 days before.
My wedding for 2 days. Me and my husband in the rain.
Yeah.
She got a private jet dropped off at the convention center. Just kidding. No,
That's what it
it's not what happened.
It's absolutely nuts. Super crazy timing with everything. And it's just amazing how like God worked it out for you to be able to be there. But with that challenge, like we weren't as prepped about, how does Aable come off stage for Fireproof? And then Eves comes on stage for Ego Problem. And then she leaves stage and Demir comes out to pick it up with Aable. Like, how do those transitions work? And, we weren't totally on the same page, but it was really cool. One of the guys who ran the thing, I cannot remember his name, but he just made sure that we really got this stuff down so that we came across even more professional than maybe we were.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was amazing. Literally one of the best production people I've ever worked with ever. Easily.
Yeah, I think he was really good about. I think for us, a lot of the time, I'm personally on way smaller stages. I'm more in like I love being in a singer-songwriter environment, and the stages are just smaller. It's a smaller room, and now I'm like, oh, I got to enter with like energy, and that's like it's like 30 feet of energy now, like not like 4 feet and like pick up a guitar or like 4 feet and like start singing a song. Like you have to communicate, like over communicate the excitement of being there and engagement because of like what our songs are saying, right? Like or what our art is saying, like keeping that authentic, like doing it for a real reason, not just like, oh, I want to be cool, so like I have to have lots of energy. It's like, no, I want to be really intentional about like the delivery on this, so like the point gets across for what we do. So, but the entrances for that, I'm like, don't trip, don't fall, don't bump into anybody, don't. But he did a really good job of coaching us like on different stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And that's when I feel like there's like a unique like blend of like, all right, we want to do the ministry part well, but then we also want to like do it with excellence. And with that means like you got to really be as interested and intentional about honing in those aspects as you are like engaging with the youth. And it's easy to be like, oh, I don't feel like doing that. I came here to do what I came here to do. But, you know, the more I'm in these contexts, the more I feel like that's like almost selfish, you know, like you want to actually give of yourself. But it was crazy because we finally got it down packed to the point where we're ready to go up. And then something wild kind of ended up happening like while we were about to go up for our set.
So I think what happened was during sound check, maybe they weren't pushing the house as loud. So we do the sound check, we get through all these things, we get to the actual night of the event. They have a speaker, they have worship, North Point band, like all this stuff happens. It's really, really good. We're in the green room waiting to go. And then we finally it's our time. All right, it's like 9:00 p.m. It's like the last thing of the night. We're like the last hurrah. And as soon as Demir comes out, what song was it? Do you remember?
It was Let It All Out.
It was Let It All Out. So Demir's starting very high, Let It All Out. Not even like 10 seconds of the song, the power just
boom
goes like
and it wasn't even just like, it wasn't even just like, you know, for like on our end, it was like all in all, if I remember correctly, because I just remember hearing the song, you know, playing through my in-ears, and next thing you know, we hear the boof, and then we're like, what the heck? And this was literally right before I'm supposed to like run out, you know, on that stage, just like a big, you know, like catwalk type situation, and we're like, oh, now what? But it was wild because then I had a moment where I was kind of looking at Ann, I'm like, and he's like putting up his hands like, I don't know, bro. Like, and we're like, you know, and so I feel like I had a decision to make. I'm like, well, I could just run off the stage, but I didn't want to make it awkward. And so I'm like, well, let me try to make something of that moment. And it's crazy because I remember having a similar situation. I think it was in Kensington at a block party like years ago. So thankfully it wasn't like my first time having technical difficulties like that where I had to like, you know, in real time figure out how do I, you know, make something of this. But I just remember telling the crowd because my mic was off. So they couldn't like, I just yelled at them really. I was like, can y'all hear me? And you're like, yeah. And you're like, I was like, all right, this song is called Let It All Out. Is this a safe space? And all the kids like, yeah. And so I was like, all right, I need y'all to say Let It All Out. And like, I just had them repeat it a few times. And it was really cool because then, you know, that bought some time for the, you know, production team to figure out what the heck was going on. And then B, I was like, all right, y'all got it. I'll be right back. So, you know, I was like, all right, like, I hope that was enough to like, you know, stall whatever was happening. But they were able to get us back up and running soon after that.
That's the beauty of it. We talk a lot about it in like the spoken word setting. Like when you mess up, how do you make it so it almost didn't feel like a mess up? It feels like it was intentional. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you did that as well as you ever, like nobody else could have handled that well, you know, but you just kind of like it almost looked like it was a part of the show. Like it was a part of the plan. Mm-hmm. Hey, we're going to shut down the music and then you're going to teach the song and then they're going to know the song when you come back out.
Right.
But it was a technical issue. I mean, they lost power because the subs were pushing so hard with that song that it actually just fried everything for a couple minutes and they had to reset it all. So
and one of the guys from North Point Worship, it was so funny afterwards because there's a green room and they have they had a flat screen TV set up and some couches in the green room so they could see everything that was going on from you know, the other side of the stage, if you will, the back curtain. So he was like, after that he came up to me, he was like, bro, when that happened, I saw your reaction. He's like, yeah, that's how I knew. He's a pro. Like I was dying because I'm like, bro, I was just trying to like do whatever came to my mind in that moment to like not make it look like a mess, you know. But you know, by the grace of God, you know, it all worked out.
I was gonna say that it was just it really was. I think it impacted all of. I remembered it like, you know, that specific moment because I think it just. I think a big part of what we do here at Ripe is that like, if everything was to not work, like we'd still bring it, right? Like, because we're in it for the ministry and the kids, and like, so it was a technical difficulty, but it was like a moment to be like interacting with the kids in a more intimate way, and like you hear them more than they can hear you. Like you have their attention because there's stuff happening that shouldn't be happening, but you still like commanded the space, and yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, and after that song, you know, once that all gets fixed, we didn't have any technical issues after that.
No.
Jason was up on stage going ham with the shades. Do you remember him wearing those shades?
Shout out to Demir. They were definitely his glasses.
Were they really yours? That's
I usually just bring a couple these days.
I'm trying to get to the point where he wears shades. I'm like, yeah, let me borrow a pair, bro.
It was a vibe.
Yeah, it was. It went with the shirt. I had a Marvel shirt on, so
it worked out. It worked out. I just know Jason has these photos from this event that he looks like an absolute superstar.
Yeah, facts.
He looks like
I was too famous to be up there with Demir.
That's
so
what
it's so funny. But you killed it, man, and like shout out to you for putting the work in. I know that like we had talked, Ant and I had talked about like, you know, if Demir or Aaron want to bring out a drummer, like who do we go with? And Ant was like, man, I think this is the type of opportunity. Give Jason a shot because he's been hungry, right? He's been after it, trying to grow, learning songs, learning hits. And really the Penn State show with you was what sold it for us. Because you went into the like tank and learned all of Eve's music for the Penn State show. When we knew it wasn't just going to be Demir, but Aable and Eve's. It was like Jason already knows pretty much all of Aaron's songs, all of Demir's music, and he's been working on Eve's. Jason's the answer. Like he knows all this music already because he's prepared himself to play for the 5, 10, 15, 20, maybe 100-person show. Well, of course you should get the opportunity for the 1,000-person show, right?
Yeah, and I do want to thank you guys for that, because definitely just basically being a part of Ripe, and like obviously having a bunch of friends that makes music and like loves to create, just being able to like learn their genre, because I kind of been in the space of wanting to grow my skills and like try to learn different types of genres, because obviously growing up I only basically honestly knew was gospel, but then it was like I got older, I was like I'm starting to like hip hop more, and then like doing playing for Eves was like definitely a whole game changer, because it was like that was the first time I ever actually was into that type of genre of music. Definitely working with these guys, they each and every one of them were very patient with me, because I will always be like, hey, yeah, I'm kind of learning it. I don't think I'm gonna be perfect at it, but and instead of them being like, oh, well, we're just going to find someone else, they all were just like, just do what you can do. And we're just basically going to grow together, and being able to grow with them was like, it was special. Doing that show in particular was like great, because obviously I've been doing a lot of shows with Demir throughout last year, doing shows with Eves. I did a couple with her, and it's like each of the shows were very fun. And Aaron as well. It's been very cool, like working with him, because he's very like, yo, I want you to get this and you're going to get it right. Like there's no room for mess up. Like we're going to get it. And so being able to work with those guys was like, it's been definitely a great experience. So yeah.
I gotta say, I want to quickly give my flowers to Jason, because like you can tell he really loves us. He just shows up with a smile on his face everywhere we see him, and he's always made himself available. Before I moved to Philly and really got plugged in with Ripe and all that, like I used to dream about even just having a drummer, having any musicians that would play live, for me, and just having guys like Jason who just show up and just be down to hang out and kick it with Mike and Liv and everybody else who was a part of like Ripe at the time, and seeing it grow like has really blessed me, because I used to think I'd have to find a person who's like super expensive and super established in the industry and has in order to like be worthwhile. But like honestly, Jason has grown so much in the time. He was already good when I first heard him, but I was actually at that Penn State Abington show, And I wasn't on the list of artists that night, but you know, seeing him from the stage or from the audience, I should say, was the first time I was like, wow, like this dude has really like grown so much in such a short amount of time. Beyond that, just his heart, you know. So it's not always about like, are you the most like experienced from the gate? Because I mean, he just turned 21 a couple months ago, you know. So there's something to be said about.
I'm 22, big bro.
Or 22. I'm sorry, I meant to say 22. My fault. But yeah, all that to say, man, like, thank you for always like being here for us and doing life as a community with Ripe, and seeing how it's turned into this is crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, bro. Shout out to definitely Scott and like and SD and Josh. Those guys in particular, man, because like I would never forget, like Scott, honestly, he pushed me, bro, in like a lot of ways, because he will always tell me like, yo, like you got the potential, is like you got to keep going, like you got to actually take time, put the work in. And like it was like I would listen to him and be like, yo, you know what, like Scott is actually spitting some facts, you know, because like he obviously Scott's like been in areas where he's seen way better and like actual professionals and things like that, and I see that he sees where I want to be at in my drum career. And so like obviously Scott's not going to lead us to the wrong, right? So it's like I definitely want to shout him out. Josh, SD, and Ant, shout those guys out, because like those guys actually been on the stage with me, and like each and every one of them were just like, yo, like you're going to kill no matter what, bro. Like no matter what you think, even if you mess up, just make sure it don't look like a mess up. Just go out and do what you got to do. So those guys also definitely motivated me. So thanks to each and every one of those guys.
I just love Jason. We appreciate you. Just what do you guys remember from the set? Obviously, we talked about the beginning of it. Just any songs or like moments from the set that you were just like, man, this was killer, from your guys' perspective.
I mean, for me, I loved doing the acoustic set in the middle. I think that's just like, for me as an artist right now, is like the strongest area for me performing, where I feel like I have the most authority in what I'm saying, and just like connecting with the students. Just really feels like an area that I know how to like navigate super well. So getting to do that in the midst of like a lot of hype, a lot of high songs, and then bringing it down to that moment and picking up the guitar. I always love those moments because I know that it hits different kids in the crowd that maybe like that style of music. And so for me, I did the acoustic version of Clean, which I've actually have never released other than on Instagram. So getting to do that, and you know, the whole point of the song is communicating that like we come to like the cross like not perfect. And when you're a teenager, like it's all about feeling way less than anything close to perfect. Like it's all about feeling your imperfections and everything like that. So for me, that was an impactful moment just throughout the set, to like bring it down and kind of have a moment that was a little bit more like down to the earth kind of vibe. But yeah,
it was beautiful.
I mean, as far as like the songs go, honestly, in those moments, sometimes I don't really try to like think about, you know, any one song as much as it is like the whole experience, and just I try to make eye contact with as many people in the audience as possible. And you know, funny moments when the kids are like trying to talk to you mid-set, especially on the songs where like Aable and I were both on the stage together, was, you know, pretty cool. So you just try to like treat everybody like you would off the stage, even though in a context like that there's a lot going on. So try to leverage it, you know, as authentically as I can without getting distracted.
Yeah. By the way, guys, I just found out his name was Chuck.
Was that his name? How did you figure that out?
Because I just found the set list from that Friday night show.
Oh.
And it was like 1, 2, 3 with Aable, Into Let It All Out, Ego Problem, Fireproof, Lipton, Can't Guard Me, All the Way, Clean. The moment you're talking about where you went to guitar, Roller Coaster after that, Joy, Matrix. Which you did Matrix. That was one of the first times I think you've done Matrix. And then Too Holy, Let's Go, Pina Colada, and really the Jersey Beach on.
Yeah.
Oh, and he had a student come up on stage for that.
Yeah, it was
to dance.
What a set list, guys. And I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't think people realize we don't just throw songs together in a folder and hit randomize, right? Like, there's a real intentionality when we do these overlapping sets where we probably debate it for like 2 hours. Some of that's just us joking around and making fun of each other. That's why it takes so long. But we spend a lot of time to make sure what's the theme of this song? What's the beat pattern of this song? How does this song feel going into that? How do we get to this song that you really want to do? You know you want clean acoustic to be in your set. How do we get there and how do we get out of it?
Right.
Right. And then coming up with design based upon those things.
Right.
And I just love that you guys have been like so gracious towards one another and accommodating, like I think is the right word. Like where you're like, man, how do I look out for my brother and sister that they have a great experience doing the things that they want to do? Sometimes even people like saying, okay, I'll do a different song here so that you can do that. And it's just been really, really cool to watch, like the getting to that set list thing.
Yeah, it's crazy because, you know, when you make statements like that, Scott, like it like in a beautiful way, like I just like have to stop and be like, you know, this is not, I shouldn't expect this to always be the case, right? And I'm not saying like between us or like right, but I'm saying like I don't think this is normal. I think this is like almost countercultural. Like this has to be spirit led, because the fact that we are all so often in peace and, you know, unity and harmony amongst each other, and there's no pride involved and like people trying to fight to get what they want, you know, even if it's at the expense of what other people in our group, you know, are trying to accomplish and want to do. Like, I almost feel like I take it for granted that we're always able to figure it out without like any discord. I've never done a set with any of these guys and been like really frustrated or anything about, oh, well, I really wanted to do this, but I didn't even get a chance to do that. We found a way. We're just flexible. And so, you know, I really appreciate that we have such an awesome community of artists that are humble enough to, you know, make things work under any means necessary.
Just looking at the set list, guys, I mean, that's a heck of a show. Like knowing each of these songs and the moments that you're creating. I mean, if pun intended, because it is a roller coaster in the set, but it is a roller coaster throughout the set of like high moments of energy and excitement, usually starting, ending high. But you're having moments where you have like real intimate, contemplative, sincere, genuine, like tearjerker moments in the set as well. And that's just there's a beauty of a dynamic there that you don't normally get. One artist by themselves doing their own set. You have to be so versatile as an artist. You know, like shout out to Soraya or Synovia, like an artist like that that's so versatile that they can do all the things at once. But normally, you know, you don't get that. But bringing three together, plus DJ Angie, just being the best DJ ever.
Facts.
Right?
Won't do a set without him.
Like
For real.
God, for real.
Yeah.
Angie changes the game. Even just seeing his texts and stuff in this thread from that event, like the things that he's saying for us to keep in mind and make sure we do better for the next set. He's just the best, you know? So we got really, really lucky. You guys did an amazing job. You did such a good job that something happened after the night one session, which is Eves had to go back because she had just gotten married. And Jason had to go back, I think, for another gig. But Demir and Aable stayed over Friday night into Saturday. And the set on Friday night went so well that they actually asked you guys to do another set on Saturday, which was not a part of the plan. It was not what you were booked to do. But I think that says a lot about our community and how we operate, that we're not just there to get the thing done and then, you know, get out of the way. I mean, you had to leave. You just got married, Eves. I'm not like throwing that on you that you didn't stay.
But I kept the gig. That's what was important.
You kept the gig 5 days after you got married was more than enough to honor the
Let's be
opportunity.
real. How many people are actually doing that? You know,
The
what I'm
day
saying?
after she gets back from her honeymoon, she's at a gig.
I'm at a gig.
It's like, Eves, go home. What are you doing here? But I'm so glad you were there because there were kids, especially like a bunch of teenage girls that latched themselves onto your music on Friday night and needed to connect with you and were blessed by interactions with you. So, but that's us, right? It's never just about doing the show to do the show. It's never about just going up, show up, do the dance, get the check, and move on. It's how do we make this the best opportunity we can for young people to meet Jesus or whoever we're ministering to encounter him. And how do we steward this so people look at us and they say, yeah, maybe there's better artists out there or artists with bigger followings than them, but they can never question our character of were we there for the right motivation? Like, that is what we are batting 1,000 at. Is like, are these guys just here to do a show, or are they here to do ministry? Are they here to impact these kids? Do they care how the whole event goes? Or are they just concerned with their set? Nobody could ever say that we're only concerned with our set.
Right.
You know?
We're out at the table. Second the event wraps up, like, we're out there waiting for, like, the kids, like, to talk to them afterwards, which I think is where, like, some of the most meaningful interactions happen, because, like, you just never, some of these kids might be passionate about the same things that we were passionate about when we were their age. Just getting to see somebody do it for Jesus is, like, kind of brings two worlds together for them. And I think that's like where I feel like the money is truly for us.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, like we're definitely graced with the opportunity, Aaron and I, just to do another set, which was really cool. We were just eating, I think it was like an early afternoon, if I'm not mistaken, and then, you know, a conversation about that, you know, started, and Chuck was like, yeah, I mean, if we can make that work if you guys, you know, want to. And we're like, yeah, like we, you know, so we always try to make ourselves available. I feel like oftentimes we are the first ones in certain places and the last ones out. They booked the hotel for Aaron and I, and for most of us the whole weekend, you know. And so we're like, well, I mean, if the hotel is available, we might as well, you know, stay if we're, you know, able to. And so but it was just, you know, really cool to even, you know, play basketball with some of the, you know, mini hoop with some of the high schoolers, and they actually had real basketball too. And, you know, and between some sessions we would go hoop with them. And, you know, there's multiple times where I remember people were like, yo, like you're here, like, why are you here? You know, like, not in a spiteful way. It's not that they're trying to tell me to leave, but they were just like, wait, we just saw you on the stage and now you're just hanging out with us and shooting some hoops, you know. Like, it's like a weird thing that they don't expect, you know, like in certain contexts like these, the guest, you know, artists and lead, you know, worship groups to interact with them anything beyond, you know, the stage. So it was cool.
Yeah, and I think, to say this in like a gracious way, a lot of these artists are gigging every day for 300 dates a year. And so they figured out this like capacity rhythm on their physical body, their mental health, their spiritual, emotional health, right? They're like, I need to just do the show, go back to the green room and hide. And when we are released from our responsibility based upon the way that this conference operates, we go back to the hotel and we shut it down. And then when you're doing maybe 300 dates a year, maybe that's what you have to do to survive physically, mentally, emotionally. We are not doing 300 dates a year, right? So it gives us a leg up in some ways to do the 50 dates a year that we have really well, like to really give our all. Mm-hmm. And I have kind of challenged everybody in Ripe, like, we should only be saying yes to what we can do really well.
Yeah.
Like, that's if we get to the point where we're overextended and we're going through the motions and you're just trying to, like, you know, bank up opportunities or whatever, but you're not doing it well, that should be a no, because you know you can't pull it off in excellence. I mean, that's why one of our core values is excellence, is because that kind of holds you to a standard to not do anything halfway. Now, I'm not saying any of those artists are doing anything wrong by going to the green room and stuff like that. That's just been not us.
It's not our culture. Yeah, no, we've made a point of just, I think it was very early on coming in Ripe, like, it's making yourself available to the kids, like, and making yourself available to even the adults, like having conversation, like, that's like, it's just, I feel like the approach is just, it's a part of like who we are as an organization. And so I think it's cool that we haven't lost that. And even if we start doing bigger shows like what this one was, I don't think that I would trade it, because it's so nice to. We are just like, we're normal people, like, and you know what I mean. Like, we want to interact with people, and I want to hear their stories and hear how it impacts them, and so.
Yeah, and I also want to just like clear the air. Like, I'm not trying to come at anybody who is, you know, super booked throughout the year and, you know, does that thing. And, you know, because I mean, maybe, you know, if I get to that point, you know, at some point in the near future, I there's definitely more grace. So it's not even about that. It's just more like, you know, it hasn't even clicked in my mind that, like, oh, like you like, you go straight to the hotel. And don't get me wrong, we've had events where, like, regardless of size or where we're at, you know, or if we're traveling hours to go do it, like, you know, like, you might be just naturally tired, you know, regardless of how many people are in the space. But I've seen time and time again, like, when we make ourselves available, you know, to pray, to just hang out, just be ourselves, you know, the way God has made us, like, I've never regretted it ever, you know. And I think, like, in times where, like, I might naturally in the flesh be like, oh, I'm just ready to go to sleep, I'm ready to go grub on some good food, because food hits different after being on a show, you know. It just does. Praise God, right? Yeah. But you know, like, having my, you know, everybody else in Ripe who's you look over and you see Aaron praying for someone, you know, look at you just hanging out with someone else, you know, like that, just, it almost like inherently motivates you to be more sensitive to what's going on around you, you know. And Scott's just Scott. Like, he's gonna talk to a million people no matter what. So you're gonna end up being stuck talking to someone regardless.
Come on.
No, but it's a beautiful thing.
I will say this though, I do less of this, the offstage ministry stuff, than you guys probably think nowadays, because you guys have stepped up and done it so well. I feel a lot more at peace, like, engaging with the conference leaders that brought us in, or the tech staff, right? Or even the janitorial staff. Like, I'm always more thinking in terms of, like, the personnel that made this thing possible, thanking those people, honoring those people, appreciating those people. And I can do that with, like, absolute confidence that I know kids are getting engaged, because that's who you guys are.
Right.
So it gives me even more freedom to just kind of think, like, oh, who's here that, you know, needs a hug? Like, a lot of youth pastors are really struggling. I'll just say that. Like, there's a lot of, you know, college ministry people that are struggling. There's a lot of people that are pastors that are struggling. And when I am in a space with them, if I can cut through the surface levelness of Christianese with a ministry person and find out how they're hurting and offer, like, a healing balm to them, like, to me, I'm like, that's a dividend that I'm putting into their life that's going to impact everybody that they reach for the next 6 months. Yeah. So that's kind of where my mind has been on a lot of these gigs these days. But I can do that knowing that you guys, Ripe is handled. Like, you guys have Ripe's name in the, like, space is fine because it's you guys doing it. So thank you for caring for the kids.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's good. It was good. It was a heck of a weekend. Shout out to DJ Angie for being amazing. He DJ'd not just the concerts, but every session, and I got a chance to host and MC, and, you know, I wasn't really all that necessary, to be honest. I think they were just looking for an excuse to have me come.
Because you're great.
Yeah, I guess I did.
I had you MC my wedding. You got 2 gigs in 1 week.
That's true. I was MCing that wedding on Monday. Shout out to North Point Band, Andy Stanley's church. His worship team was there. They were super sweet. We got to interact with them quite a bit. Really great people, very kind. For sure. And they do this. This is like what they do.
Yeah, they're the touring team. This is their touring team.
They have like 8 campuses too, down in Georgia, I believe. So, like, they have like I was talking to some of the guys on their worship team, and they have like a rotating system where, like, they'll go to, like, different campuses, and then some of them will go do the gigs throughout the year. So they're busy.
You know? Yeah. Really, really great.
They were sweet. The speakers, you know, even the bishops were shooting off T-shirt cannons and all that kind of stuff. Everybody we got to interact with, super, super kind, and it was a great opportunity. Shout out to McCann and Corbin for the opportunity to be there.
The most professional, like photo video guys.
Yes.
Easily, and the most personable, like the coolest guys. Like they're hilarious, and they're so on top of, like they were excited. Like they would literally like we would, like one of us just got off the stage and they already have like 50 photos and videos ready, and they're like not just ready to show us, but they're like, bro, yo, check this shot out that I just got. And they're so like, just seeing them excited to like show us what they did was like, I don't know, it was just so refreshing, you know, because like sometimes we do events and we like, you know, for the sake of like ministry and even just like to share what God's doing in our lives, like we want to see those photos and videos, but like we don't want to like bother like the media teams. But they were like, bro, we got you. Like, it's right here. We're ready to send it your way, you know?
Yeah, they were sending us links at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You'd be like, 100 items uploading. I was like, what is this?
And they did an edit for us, too. I was like, yo, these guys are like elite.
You know, that video was sick, bro.
It was sturdy.
Yeah, they did a video mid-weekend. It was already posted by the time the conference was over. So.
Oh, yeah. I also want to shout out the founder of Ignite. It was cool. Like, I was playing basketball with him. And like
Bishop Scholl.
Yeah, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together that it was him. Silly me, right? But then when like he and I just ended up having a conversation like for like a few minutes after that, and it was really cool. And he's pretty sure he spent a lot of time living in Philly himself, which is pretty sweet. So
yeah, shout out to Bishop Scholl. Shout out to the UMC for having us out to Ignite 2023. Feels like a lot of good, beautiful things are happening in that relationship. We've been invited. Ripe Worship even just did a gig with them. I don't know if you guys even knew that. 2 weekends ago with McCann and Corbin. Nice. So, you know, Ripe is continuing to build a relationship in that direction. If you are from Ignite, thank you for having us. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully we get invited back in the future. Really appreciate what you guys are doing for young people in the greater PA, New Jersey region. Also, just want to say to everybody who listens to this podcast, thank you guys for tuning in, not just to listen, but to support Ripe Creatives. Even on gigs like this where we are getting booked and brought out, your support is really what enables us to do it. Yeah. Cover some of the gas and food and travel and stuff that we otherwise wouldn't be able to do, you know, as well as we are because of your support. So your support not only helps fund everything that we do in Philly, but even some of these gigs and even my time for doing a lot of the communication and setup for these gigs to happen. So by supporting me, you are supporting the artists in Ripe and allowing them to get opportunities that they maybe otherwise wouldn't have. So thank you for partnering with us so that we can partner with others on things like Ignite. You know, your support enables us to do that. Demir, Eves, Jason, just want to give you guys one last kind of final opportunity to share anything else that you have to say before we wrap up.
Yeah, if you made it this far, you're awesome, and we appreciate your time and attention. And yeah, we love you guys.
Yeah, thank you for listening, and thank you for having me on the show. Yeah, be blessed.
You guys did it so good. I don't even know what to say. You guys covered all the bases. No, but seriously, it's always great to get to talk about like what we're doing here at Ripe and how it impacts students and the relationships we have, and it's a pleasure to share it with you guys.
Yeah, we are blessed by the ability to reflect on what God is allowing us to do, and all of you who we connect with as a result.
Yeah, we we debrief like every event that we do, and kind of the thought was, you know, what does it look like to share our debrief with the world?
Yeah, totally.
You know, because we have such great conversations. Now, this one was a long time ago, so we're playing catch up again.
We are.
So we're a little bit, you know, disconnected from it. But the ideal is whenever we can do these podcasts like a week or two after an event, so it's still all fresh for us to be able to process right in the room about what just happened and just share that stuff with you, because these are this is why we do what we do. It's not for, I did 50 gigs this year. No, it's for the 150 conversations with 3 kids per event that you hold for the rest of your life.
That's right.
You know, that's the stuff that really matters. You know, what is the impact that you had on a kid's life off the stage, not just on it. Sometimes on it too, but certainly off. So just highlighting those things that maybe are a little less often seen, I think is really, really important. So that's kind of the heart of The Time is Ripe. So thank you guys for being on today's episode. We appreciate y'all. And I'm sure we will have you all on and many, many times in the future, depending on where we go and what we do. But until that time, and until next time, stay right.
Stay right.
Stay right.
Stay right.
No one can take it.